The only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. Hello boys and girls, my name is Miss Aliyah Brewster and today we'll be examining the concept of fractions. So grab your notebook and pen, get settled, and let's begin. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's get started. What are fractions? A fraction is used to represent the portion or part of a whole thing. It has two parts, namely the numerator and the denominator. If you look at the image on the screen, you would notice that the fraction being used is 4/7. In that image, 4 represents the numerator, while 7 represents the denominator. Now the line that's separating these two numbers is called the vinculum line. Here we have another image that is used to represent the proportion of this fraction. It says here, the number on the top is called the numerator and the number on the bottom is called the denominator. The numerator defines the number of equal parts taken, whereas the numerator defines the total number of equal parts in the whole. So let me simplify this a little bit for you. So here we have a pie. Now this pie is cut into 7 pieces. That's why the number 7 is the denominator. However, let's say this pie just finished baking, it's warm and nice. So you and your brother eat 4 pieces out of that 7 pieces. So the 4 pieces on the pie that are shaded would represent the numerator. There are different types of fractions. The 4 types that we'll be examining today are unit fractions. Unit fractions are fractions where the numerator is a unit or its number 1. For example, you have a half and a quarter. In both of those fractions, the numerator is the numeral 1. Proper fraction. If a numerator value is less than the denominator value, it is called a proper fraction. For example, you have 7/9 and 8/10. In those fractions, 7 and 8 are both larger than their denominators. Another type of fraction would be improper fraction. If the numerator value is greater than the denominator value, then it is called an improper fraction. For example, we have 6/5 and 11/10. Okay, so in this case, 6 of course is greater than 5. And in the other instance, 11 is greater than 10. So we call those fractions improper fractions. The other type would be mixed fraction. If a fraction consists of a whole number with a proper fraction, it is called a mixed fraction. Mixed fractions, to simplify, basically contains a whole number and a fraction. In this instance, we have the first mixed number as 5 3/4, and the second one is 10½. Equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions with different numbers representing the same part as a whole. They have different numerators and denominators, but their fractional values are the same. For example, think about the fraction half. It means half of something. You can also say that 2/4 is a half and that 3/6 is a half as well. Now if you look on the image on the screen, you would notice that a half is represented by shading exactly 1/2 of a shape, whereas 2/4 is represented by shading 1/2 of the shape as well. However, the numerator and the denominator values are different from that of a half, which is a regular 1 as the numerator and 2 as the denominator. But for 2/4, that also represents a half. However, the denominator is 4, while the numerator is 2. We also can represent a half by using the numerator as 3 and the denominator as 6 in the fraction 3/6. And then there's the fraction 4/8 that can also be used to represent a half. Now we'll be examining equivalent fractions. How do you identify whether two fractions are equivalent? To make certain that two fractions are equivalent or not, we multiply the numerator of one fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. Similarly, we multiply the denominator of the first fraction by the numerator of the other one. If the product obtained are the same, the fractions are equivalent. Let's look at the following example. The fractions that we'll be examining today are 3/4 and 6/8. So in order to verify whether these fractions are equivalent, first we must multiply the numerator of the first fraction by the denominator of the second fraction. In this case, it means that 3 multiplied by 8. We're not finished there. We have to multiply the denominator of the first fraction by the numerator of the second one. In this case, it would be 6 times 4, or 6 multiplied by 4. Now, when we multiply 3 times 8, we get 24. And when we multiply 6 times 4, we get 24 as well. Now, you would look and you would notice that both the products are the same. Therefore, those two fractions can be described as equivalent. So, 3/4 and 6/8 are equivalent fractions. Try these activities on your own. The first one is 7/6 is equal to something above 36. You have to decide what value must be put above. Number 2, there is 4/7 equal to 20 above something. You have to decide what number goes there to make those fractions equal. Did you get it correct? The answer for the first one would be 42. Therefore, we can say that 7/6 is equivalent to 42/36, while 4/7 is equivalent to 20/35. Thank you, boys and girls. That has brought us to the end of our lesson. I truly hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And remember, the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. Therefore, I would urge you to continue to practice, not because our session is over. It means that you have to stop. You can research other activities involving equivalent fractions and work and practice them. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.